we're going to get right into this. So my name is David, and welcome all. Really excited to have all of you here. So, going to cover this agenda really quick before we get into it, guys. And first off, just a little welcome between all of us. Basically, just going to recap this. And the whole point of these AMAs, again, is to spotlight the project building on Immutable. Really get to know some of the people behind these projects and bring our communities together. After that, we're going to go through some quick intros with you two. We've got some Q&A, and then after that, if we've got some time, we'll open up to the audience. So with that, Max or Jorge, I'll let you guys figure out who wants to go first. Can I have a quick introduction about you two and then the team?
Sure, I'll go first on the intro. I'm Max Murphy. Yeah, Max Murphy. I'm CTO at Congregate. I've been here a couple times in AMAs for Blood Vessels and now for Bitverse. I am running technology across many efforts over here at Congregate for Web3.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jorge Gonzalez. I've been working in product management since 2013 and at Congregate since 2018. Being a huge enthusiast about monetization, game economy design, UI UX design, and more recently, blockchain games. A senior director of product here at Congregate. If you don't know about us, we brought titles such as Animation Throwdown and Adventure Capitalist to the free-to-play space in the past. And yeah, that's about me. Been working on some Editor's Choice games before in the past, and happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm really stoked to have you two here. So that being said, next question up is, you lightly touched on it, but how does Congregate feature here? You want to start off, Max?
Yeah, sure. So I understood this question of how does Congregate fit in here, and how it fits is we own the Bit Heroes Quest IP. It's a game that we've, staff favorite for a long time, community favorite, user favorite, player favorite. And as we got into, blockchain games, Web3, and seeing all this, we thought, the Bit Heroes IP is the perfect fit for a metaverse, a collection of games where your character is at the center of it. And so that's what we ran with. And, Congregate is sponsoring development and building out the whole community and ecosystem. So that's how it all fits together.
Awesome. You got anything you want to add on there, Jorge, as well?
Not much to add. I think they're exceptionally well. I will tell you a little bit more later about how I joined all these crazy madness that Max kind of put me on.
All right, sounds good. So with that, we'll move into the next question here. And, what is Bitverse about? And how did the idea of a game universe begin?
That's a great question. For us, the Bitverse is basically a metaverse of games, right, of different genres that we plan to unite with blockchain, right? With the Bit Heroes IP at the center. In terms of Bit Heroes is a game that, was published by Congregate almost 6 years ago. Right? It's a community favorite, fan favorite. It's charming. Everybody loves the game. And it has all the components that I think make blockchain strong, and that appeal to blockchain community. So from that point of view, it was like perfect fit, right? We're building this Bitverse to be playable across different platforms. We want to use hybrid models, right? We want each game basically to be playable as a standalone free-to-play title. Also, we want to have that kind of blockchain layer that enables play and own, right? And we want this to be community-driven, which is also one of the things that Congregate is very well known for, right? Is we've been always super close to the community, and a lot of our developers have, kind of take the input from the community to make decisions there, right? In terms of how the idea came to be, Max has been working in blockchain over the last years, Max, 2-3 years.
Yeah, since 2019, we've been dabbling in the space.
Mm-hmm. And, he's been trying to enroll people in his crusade since then. And I think I think somewhere around mid last year, he finally got the kind of the green light to go big, and he was kind of shopping around the company for people interested in blockchain. And I did pitch the Bitverse as a kind of a secondary project at the beginning, because I was kind of focusing on other things, and I had the idea, right? Like I was following the market, obviously, and I've been a crypto enthusiast since 2017. And I was looking at games like Manticore and Roblox and kind of all the pieces fell into place, right? Because I was also driving Beat Heroes. So I was like, okay, we could do this thing. And all I know is I went to holidays, to the Christmas holidays by the end of 2021. I came back. Somebody told me, no, you're no longer working on anything else besides the Bitverse. So
I hope you enjoyed your Christmas holiday, because mine was spent planning that for you.
Yeah, that was an interesting Christmas gift, Max. Thank you.
Wow, that must have been definitely a bit of a shocker to come back and see, this project that you were so passionate about was now going to be your sole focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do have a history with Bit Heroes. I'll tell it another time, but working with that project for a long time. It's like I'm never gonna be able, and I love it, and it's great that it's getting this chance and we're building all of this.
Awesome. So before we get to the next question here, just want to remind everyone out there who's watching, you can always go into event questions and type your own question. If we've got some time at the end, we'll potentially get around to answering them. And with that, the next question here pretty much ties into what you just mentioned. Can you tell us a little bit more about Bit Heroes and how it'll interoperate with other games as an NFT asset?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first thing we're starting to work on is making the assets interoperable between our games, obviously, right? Like at the end of the day, what we want is for players to be able to use their same character, which we're calling avatars, across multiple games, right? So we create that interoperability first, and items will follow. You can actually, take an item from Beat Heroes Quest, and which is kind of the original title, and bring it to Beat Heroes Runner, which is one of the titles that we are going to be bringing by the end of this year. That's our universe, right? And then looking at other crypto projects around, we are looking at, for example, and I cannot promise anything right now because obviously this needs to happen on a kind of case-by-case basis. You need to reach out to other projects, figure out like how can you make it happen. For example, a brief conversation that happened with Gods Unchained was maybe, what if we created a set of cards in Gods Unchained around the Beat Heroes, right? And what if the cards from Gods Unchained actually got an adventure in Heroes universe? So we're starting to have these conversations, but it's something that takes a little bit longer to figure out. We're definitely interested, and we're definitely going to do it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you've got me already excited with the thought of potentially having some new cards in Gods Unchained. Be fun to have some more stuff to pad out some of my nature decks, especially if it's, from Bit Heroes. Very cool. So, next question here. Your vision mentions a hybrid sustainable model. What does this eventually look like for you? And what does play and own mean?
Yeah, so that's something we're getting a lot of questions around because people are trying to figure out how that works. It's a little bit what I was saying, right? Like most of these titles are going to be playable, free to play standalone, right? Where we've non-NFT items, non-NFT characters, all of that, like more of a traditional approach to development, which also kind of allow us to grow our business sustainably, right? Over time while we develop all the other systems, the blockchain. And we will have the interoperability. We'll have the way to mint items into NFT items, and that will give the player asset ownership, right? Then we're bringing the avatars to the table, which are obviously also NFT tokens, and then on top of that, we plan to add a cryptocurrency that basically we're calling Bitpixels. It's going to stand as a kind of a hard currency across titles, right? you can use everywhere. Again, you can play this as any other free-to-play title, but there's ways to make you engage with the blockchain layer and introduce asset ownership. I think it's basically what we are all super excited about, right?
Definitely. I think that really points out some things that people should be excited for and really kind of helps set you all apart. So next up here, we've got some questions from Twitter. Just in the meantime, while folks have time to write out their own questions in the events questions channel. So this next question is, will there be possibility of trading NFTs with other NFTs in the game, or just selling and buying?
Yeah, sure. I'll take that one. Currently we're designing the Bitverse, the metaverse, so that the transactions happen on open marketplaces, the IMX marketplace. With that said, our initial drop will be on our website, the Bitverse IO. But we're listening to the community. If in-game NFT trades are something that people want to see, let us know. This is equally congregate driven as it is community driven.
Awesome. You have anything to add on?
Since you're talking about Twitter, don't forget to follow us. It's something we always forget to do in our AMA, so I wanted to put it in there.
Where can they follow you at?
I believe our Twitter is BHBitverse, and our Discord is Bitverse, like discord.gg/Bitverse. Yeah.
I would go to our website, thebitverse.io, and follow the social links there. They're up to date, and there's a pretty sweet sizzle reel up there.
Yeah, Max was so much subtler than I was.
I've got to go watch that sizzle reel now. You've got me excited to check it out. Awesome. So this next question, again, comes from Twitter. So how does Bitverse make money? What strategies do you employ to generate income or profit? And then a lot of projects discuss their long-term vision and mission, but what are some of your short-term objectives? And basically, to cap it off, at the moment, what are you focusing on?
It's a lot of questions into one. We'll try to answer as many as I can.
Why don't we break it down and go with it first? Yeah. So first question would be,
how do we make money?
Yep.
I think it touches a little bit on the hybrid model, right? So what that is going to do is guarantee a sustained flow of cash, right, from just transactions in the game and ads, right, in the mobile versions, which will basically mean that blockchain will be a tertiary source of revenue for us, right? That we can use some of the money that we're generating on the side to, potentially refill some of the pools, investing into the tech and making Bitverse sustainable for many years to come.
All right.
That is the first part of the question.
Yeah, I'll read these back to you so you don't have to worry about it. There was a lot of questions wrapped up into one big one. So with that, the next question that was kind of in there was, what strategies do you employ to generate income or profit?
I think this one is very related to the one that I just answered, right? Like you're gonna find all the usual things that you would find in a game these days when it comes down to, again, to transactions and ads. When it comes to blockchain, we obviously expect to generate some money from the sales of avatars and items, and from the secondary sales, right? And that's how the profit's gonna come in. We plan to reuse most of the systems that we're gonna create to fill the kind of our economy are mostly gonna be like, high percentage of that is gonna go towards refilling and not towards profit. Because again, sustainability, we know it's a key issue for the community these days and something they're concerned about. So we want to make sure that we can deliver on that front.
Awesome. All right. Next up here is, many projects discuss their long-term vision and mission, but what are some of your short-term objectives in opening this up to, both of you?
I think the short-term objectives for us, again, we're going to start with a pre-sale very soon, right? It's going to come in, and we're starting by building all the technology around making the avatars playable across games. That's kind of our first and foremost priority. And then basically that point, we want to keep bringing, the titles to the universe. We want to create up to 7 games over the next 3 years, right? If we can, and if the community allows us to get there, we want to make this like something that keeps expanding, right? So after Heroes, we will focus on the items and other kind of things like staking, the DAO, if it comes to that, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome.
That's from short term to long term.
For sure. Got anything to add on there, Max?
No, I mean the long term is really what excites me. The DAO aspect of this. I mean, just imagining that is just so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear a little bit more about why that excites you so much.
Well, to me, it's really the longevity and really the life cycle and lifetime of the game is not tied to the revenue it generates for its publisher, and it translates directly to the game bringing joy to its community members and them having ownership over that thing that brings them joy.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. So next question coming up here is, so we know that in order to attract new investors, you have to come up with something that can arouse the player's interest. What gameplay mechanics will be used to make this happen?
So we're talking about blockchain mechanics or game mechanics.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume that they meant gameplay mechanics here.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit of both. So I think, first of all the titles in the Bitverse are gonna be very respectful with the original IP, and the original game was an RPG, right? An MMORPG. So all of them are gonna have, in some way or form, RPG mechanics built into them, regardless of their genre. Build those in there. We're gonna find a way to get them in, because it's also part of the value proposition, right? We want all players to use their character across multiple games and their items across multiple games, right? And then basically, Heroes Quest, which is the game that is already out there, is a team battler. Arena, which is the game that is going to be coming around probably end of Q3, beginning of Q4. Arena is a battle royale with MOBA touches that you can actually, have our beta actually open for registration. So if somebody wants to, participate on our playtest, they can go to the bitverse.io and sign up for that. Then we have an endless runner by the end of the year, right? And those games are what they sound like. We're not hiding anything there with the names. Then game 4, it's probably gonna be a CCG, right? So that will bring cards to the table. Joke intended. And then we're prototyping something. Yeah, a big that jokes guy. So we're prototyping something that we're calling, and this is kind of an exclusive here, and I mean we're committing to it because again we're a lot of different prototypes these days. We're prototyping something Bit Heroes Army, which is could be a little bit more land-based, right? And again, we're trying to make it work. We're trying different mechanics, seeing in what direction we could take it. I mean, we are committing to it, just that we are exploring it.
Awesome.
For games 6 and 7, we don't really know.
What would your dream genres be if you had to pick for game 6 and 7?
So we actually ran a poll with our the Bit Heroes community in our server recently. I think the one that ranked the highest by a long shot was a tower defense type of game. And then I have a kind of a favorite internally that it's kind of a kind of like a Stardew Valley Speed Heroes type of game. Those are, I think, in the leading positions in terms of excitement internally and externally.
I still want Bit Heroes Space, a 4X space game starring Bit Heroes, where we go to the moon.
You gotta have that. Can't be without going to the moon. Well,
do that.
When your team ends up making a fighting game, let me know. That is my personal vice. So
you and me both.
Very excited. So with that, you mentioned having all these different, games, genres coming out. When it comes to integrating them together, do you have a project already in the works or overall workflow in mind how you do it?
So can you ask the question again? Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm distracted
So
there for a sec.
yeah, no problem. So I'll shorten it down real quick. So do you have a project to integrate all these games? You mentioned there's about,
Yeah.
6 to 7 different games. Kind of what does that look like?
So yes, we do have a plan to integrate all the games through again the Bitverse.io. For those of you who don't know Congregate was a platform for web games original. What's interesting is that we have a lot of tech already built that we can reuse to kind of really and quickly ramp up all the services that we need to make this happen a single site, right? And the idea is that the Bitverse.io becomes a hub for Bitverse players, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's the plan. Basically, put all the games in the Bitverse.io, all the services for chat, for purchases, for trading, etc., and then let players enjoy it.
Always excited to enjoy projects, so that sounds great to me.
Yeah,
And you know what?
essentially, the Bitverse.io website we talk about. I mean, it's becoming the Bitverse platform. Is the TLDR on all that?
Nice. Do you have anything, not to go off on a little tangent here, but in terms of the Bitverse.io platform, are there any things that really set it apart from your perspective?
To me, it's a one stop, one place that you go to play everything Bitverse related, to see new NFTs coming through. I mean, there's a lot there when you think about a web platform, but solely dedicated to one game. I mean, imagine, or one game universe, excuse me. Having pages that are just dedicated to individual games, chats about those games. It's really turning it into like a destination and hub for all things Bitverse.
And I think that was one of the first decisions that we had to make was like, are we going to build this into Congregate.com or are we going to do our own thing? And it was very clear very quickly that it had to be its own thing, right? It's a universe. I want you to make people feel part of that and be excited about it, right? And we very quickly decided to go our own way. Yes, we can reuse some things. Or something different at the same time, right?
So in terms of, this new platform, are there going to be any benefits for early adopters?
I think they're gonna revolve mostly around the owning NFT avatars, right? If you get one of those during our pre-sale, you will get access to a lot of different perks that those avatars are gonna hold and bring you to different games. Now, when I say perks, typically I'm not talking about like advantages in game compared to other players that are gonna make you beat them. I'm talking about kind of convenience perks, right? Like getting something extra for your purchases, getting distinct treatment, getting bonuses on staking, things like that. So if you're early, you can one of them. Then all of these advantages. They're listed out in our white paper. If you want to check it out, it's also in the Bitverse.io.
Awesome. So my next question is, so any of the progress of any players we're playing right now, will any game progress be reset as new games are coming out?
So as new games come out, I mean, this is a tough question because it depends a little bit on the game and the state of the game, right? So if we're talking about Beat Heroes Arena, which is right now in beta testing mode, and people are playing with non-NFT characters, progress is going to be reset most likely. There's a high chance that we will have to do that at one point or another. If someone's playing Beat Heroes Quest, the original game, they're not going to reset their progress because those characters again are non-NFTs. They've been in the game for a while, and that wouldn't be fair to them. But for people who buy an NFT avatar, they will have to start from scratch. And if they have another character, right, that is non-NFT, that is it's level 200 or 300 in the game, they'll have to start from scratch, because otherwise it wouldn't be fair to someone who has never been part of this. For Runner, we don't have a problem today because it's not. I mean, we're gonna get a version that we can start testing by the end of next month. Today is not a concern. Hopefully that answers the question. It's a little bit nuanced, basically, based on the game.
That answered it on my end entirely. Next question here. So for the games right now in their current state, is there some sort of achievement system?
We do have an achievement system for Heroes Quest already in the game, and another one in Runner, and we're planning to add quests to the Bitverse.io before the pre-sale, kind of to try to incentivize the community and to also earn a spot in the whitelist. So
exactly, like any good platform will have a meta game with rewards and things through it by engaging and watching what we're building.
Awesome. So with that, this comes from someone on Twitter. They basically have asked, will our achievements of the current Bit Heroes serve as something in the future or in future projects involving NFTs?
Not at the moment. No, there's no plans for that.
Alrighty. Next up here is I'm going to go down and start grabbing one of the questions from the Discord. This comes from one of our community members. So let's say we sold an NFT. Will it be possible to buy and sell NFTs on the website without withdrawing funds to a wallet? Because NFT sales with small prices make small, curious investors or players unhappy due to gas fees.
Yeah, sure. On this front, it's part of why we've partnered with Immutable X to have no gas fees and transfers and have fast transfers and lower the gas fees across the board. I mean, it's the whole reason we chose an L2 provider and found such a great one in Immutable X. It met the criteria to really counteract that narrative in a lot of ways.
You guys are making us blush over here.
Aw, shucks.
Aw, shucks. So, back to the Twitter questions, but just a quick reminder for anyone in the audience, feel free to head over to event questions and ask your own. We'll go ahead and, if we have time, read off some of those. But in the meantime, we're going to bounce back over to some of these Twitter questions. So, with that is, can the items conquered in the game really become NFTs? And would that be paying a fee with in-game currency?
Yes. So we're still finalizing the details around that. The way that we are committed to deliver is basically that you would be able to collect an NFT version of an item when you're playing the game, any of the games, and you'll be able to put some bit pixels, which is our currency, and fuse that and create your NFT version of that item. Now, obviously, we're gonna probably put some limits to certain rarities because we don't want the rarest items of the games circulating around, like in big quantities, because I think that wouldn't be fair for the players nor for the game. It would go against the concept of their rarity, which they're already, to be honest, very, very hard to get, some of them. It also gives them that type of value, right? So like, finding an ancient on Bit Heroes can take years, right? And only going to be a few of those around. So if you see one in the marketplace or you're lucky enough to get one, you should be quick to mint it.
Awesome. So this one's a little bit of a fun question. We've kind of lightly touched on it a little, starting up here at this point. So what makes your Web3 game different or most unique? But their second part of their question is the most important. Will there be dragons?
It's fun that you asked because one of our games is definitely dragon that is going to have a lot of protagonism. So that was fun. I think what makes us different from other projects is that we are creating this universe of games, right, built around these central assets that can be used everywhere within our universe. Right? Also, we do have game that is already in the market. But obviously, we are retrofitting, right? And I'm not seeing a lot of projects out there being retrofitted to fit technology. Also, we're coming up with 2 games like real this year, or around the corner. I don't think anyone else has that today. One has an IP like Beat Heroes. I think we have more than 50, 60 people working on this at the moment. Everybody extremely excited about what we're doing, and we're gonna create something magical here.
That was very touching, and I think the dragon confirmation was pretty nice too.
Dragons confirmed.
You heard it first here. All right, so next up is kind of a question that might be of interest to you as well, Max. So where do you see, this project after 2 to 3 years?
I mean, the moon's the limit. No, I see this project over the next 2 years, really, proving an experiment of, community-driven development, and with the, long-term goal and promise of community ownership of a world of games, of things that would, get cast out otherwise. I mean, I've sunset a lot of games in my lifetime, and it always hurts, regardless of how little the game may be making. And being able to put that power into the hands of the people most passionate about the game in the long term is, really my North Star.
My dream here is to, slowly but steadily bring more and more people to the Bitverse. Not only users, right, but also contributors and developers. So next year we will start creating the Bitverse SDK, right? And that is that's a piece of tech that we want to be able to give away to third-party developers to make their own Beat Heroes games, right? Imagine, like, we have so much content built already. Imagine, as a developer, being able to get that content, this SDK that is going to come with all this tech, all the blockchain kind of requirements that you might need, and being able to create your game with that, right, very quickly. Maybe put it on our platform, get some sort of support from the community, right, in terms of getting big pixels. Think of some sort of crowdfunding platform at the same time, right? Even about at some point this is me dreaming wildly, but some sort of engine, Mario Maker style, that we can give away to the community, that they can make their own games and have everything they need. All of these games, and sharing the assets, being able to play them same place, jump from a runner to battle royale to like a chicken game, like so many different things, and that's what excites me. That's what drives me. Can deliver.
It's awesome. I mean, for after just 2 to 3 years, that would be very impressive to see that much of an expanse across the project.
Say years by the end of the 3rd year, so close to 4.
All right. You think you could do it in 3?
Max, can we do it in 3?
With this team, I think we can.
Oh, clip that soundbite, send it back to them.
I hope they're listening.
Awesome. So we've got another question from the audience. This one comes from Rivers. What's the best way to get involved? And, how could someone support or contribute to these projects?
Join our Discord. First step. Jump into our direct community and start talking with us.
I would support that statement. I think that's the best way to begin doing this. And we are, again, there's a lot of channels that we read very often in our Discord. Like we try to keep our eyes on everything, but there's suggestion channels, there's lore channels, there's channels that are more focused on the blockchain features, channels that are more focused on the games that are out there already. Try to look at everything. We interact with the community fairly often. As Max and I have been saying, Congregate is very community driven, so we're used to that. And if you're really interested into contributing, you can contact our community managers there, Cisco, and I think it's the Game Hunter, and I forgot
Juniper?
the Juniper. Yeah. And like we're probably getting the input from people who are really, really interested in contributing from a more closely basis.
And I'm in
From a
all
more
the
closely
Discords.
perspective.
I'm in all the Discords under this username. You can find me in any Congregate Discord and Immutable X.
So I think I heard you mention a particular channel, or did you say that there was a lore channel amongst all the suggestion channels?
Yeah, there's a lore channel, and it's really fun because a lot of people are using that channel to create their own characters for the Bitverse. And they kind of dress their own characters with cosmetics from the existing game. They come up with a story for them. I'm not gonna lie to you, like we've considered using some of those for this universe.
That's really cool. I've actually never heard of something like that for their own original characters.
It's really fun, I'll tell you
that. I bet. So looks like we've got some other really interesting questions here coming from Twitter. So this one is going to be a little bit more broad. Will the in-game currency be released as a tradable token?
Let me see. So I think, depends on how you label this, right? Like we've been talking about all these games being hybrid, right? So in a way, you're always going to have a hard currency in each of the games that you can buy as an IP transaction, right? I mentioned we're going to have our own cryptocurrency that is going to live on top of this, right? And there's going to be an exchange rate, so you can basically this is in debate, by the way. We're still thinking if there's going to be an exchange rate, or if we're going to allow players to just directly buy things crypto, kind of steps. In any case, we're going to create our own currency, cryptocurrency. You're going to be able to buy things with that in the games, one way or another. And our current, I think, roadmap is setting that between Q1 and Q2 of 2023. Yes. The answer, yes.
Awesome. So, Max, I heard you previously mention that you're in all the Congregate Discords and a lot of the communities. And we actually got a question from Nigel in the Immutable community here. And their question is, what kind of community does Bitverse and Congregate aim to build?
Oh, yeah, of course. Hey, Nigel. We did the last AMA together. Yeah, so the community I want to build, it really reflective of Congregate and the Bitverse itself. A vibrant, invested community that loves video games and loves everything that comes with that, from, as Jorge was saying, the lore, the memes, all of it. If you look at our Discords right now, the communities are having fun. And that's what we're all about. Like we're bringing fun, and we want to have fun together with both our players, our developers, and our own staff. It's pretty fun.
Wonderful. So this is going to be a little bit of a fun question. We've got about 20 minutes here left or so. So I want to ask you guys something fun before we just get into this barrage. Are there any games that have really inspired you two, whether it's with Bitverse or personal careers, or any games that just really you enjoy?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So I'm a Blizzard kid, right? I grew up playing all the Blizzard games, so all of them have a huge influence on me. I did play World of Warcraft at a really competitive level for a couple of years in Europe, and obviously that again has a lot of influence based on my trajectory in industry. And from the games that I've worked in, I think obviously the first one that I worked in had a lot of influence. Probably nobody knows it. It was called World at Arms. Kind of a base builder with kind of a raid and battle mechanic embedded into it. And Battle Hand was another favorite of mine. It's the first game that I actually owned and drove as a sort of game director type of role. And it was basically a card battler, right? With a little bit of a mix. A 2v2 turn-based. It looked like an RPG game, but like very Final Fantasy. But you actually had a deck of cards that you could use, and that also gives me S4 blockchain. The less. And then Beat Heroes for me is another big one. And again, I was telling you about the history that I have with it, right? I worked with the title since 2018. It was published in 2016. So originally it was published by a couple guys in California, right, Max? If I remember correctly, it's like the typical garage story. And we acquired the title from them back in 2018, if I remember correctly, or 2019. I was part of the team that brought it home. Then shortly after, the game got into a lot of trouble. We didn't really know how to manage it, and I was called again to try to fix it, and it was painful for me. I had to spend a lot of time into trying to recover the game, and we finally managed to do it. And for the last 2-3 years, it's been kind of in a steady curve and mode, and now again to be able to what we're doing with the Bitverse around this IP and this game is just, I'm super attached to it, right? It's something that I really care for and that I really want to see.
It's really good to hear. It's always refreshing when you hear just someone's personal attachment to their projects and IPs.
Yeah,
Sorry, Max.
You have much more in depth than I do. I was gonna say, I started on the Atari. I think Empire Strikes Back, just an endless loop of fighting AT-ATs and very rudimentary graphics was the first thing that I really fell in love with. From there, all the games through the 80s, like Super Mario Brothers and Zelda, really captured my heart. I was the kid that everyone at school would call for tips on how to get past the dungeon in Zelda, and their older brothers. My mom really hated that. Then moved on to David, you'll love this, fighting games. I was big into Street Fighter 2 when it hit. Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. Growing up in LA, we used to sneak up to the UCLA campus and go play in the giant arcade at the Student Union, and started getting pretty competitive with kids much older than us, and it was a lot of fun, and that started my hunt for games, and in that era we had things like Street Fighter 2 Rainbow Edition, which was before like Turbo and Hyper Fighting. It was hacked ROMs that made it out into 7-Elevens. And we'd search all over town for those, and that has pretty much continued the rest of my life, finding weird, odd games off to the side or odd interpretations of existing games. And that's what makes me excited most about Bitverse, is that we can take our tongue-in-cheek style of Bit Heroes Quest, its take on the 8-bit RPG world, and do it across everything, across all different titles, and including a metaverse itself. I also say that the Bitverse is our tongue-in-cheek 8-bit take on the metaverse.
That's too cool. I never in my entire lifetime thought I would have heard Street Fighter Rainbow in anything NFT or blockchain related mentioned in the same sentence.
I know, right?
That's too cool. It's really inspiring for both of you there. So, you both mentioned, especially with Bit Heroes and kind of that passion you have. We're going to shotgun the rest of these questions here. So one of the users from Twitter asks, does any progress carry over from Bit Heroes? I played a lot in 2017.
So if you played a lot in 2017, you can come back, log into your Congregate account, and keep playing. So that's great. If you're asking about how is it going to tie with the blockchain and the NFTs mentioned, avatars are going to be basically new characters that will start from scratch. So if you want to play with one of those, you'll have to kind of, forget about the progress that you had with your previous character. But one advantage that someone who's already playing Bit Heroes Quest or who starts playing today, right, and it's a decent amount of progress is going to have is you collect any of those very rare NFT items today, right? Whenever we release what we're calling the Forge, which is a place where you're going to mint NFT version of that non-NFT item, you're going to have it already in your inventory, right, for Quest. So you're going to have that small advantage there. And those items are limited in quantity. Obviously, if you have it today, you have a little bit of head start there. Now, for the new games, obviously, that's going to be everybody's going to start from scratch. This is the only one that has this kind of particularity.
So that's some awesome clarification there. It must be pretty nice to see someone who's been a longtime fan as well.
Yeah, like it's interesting, right? Like we have when we obviously have access to the data, right, of the game and into it, and see, like it's very interesting because it has like this very shape of the active users. It's like we have a lot of people who are like in the first year of playing the game. Then there's like a valley between people who've been playing the game for 1 to 3 years, and there's like it peaks again with the amount of people who are been playing this game for more than 3-4 years, right? It's amazing to see kind of attachment and retention that this game generates with people.
Nice. So we've got a question here from Rivers in the community. What link would you share with someone to get them excited for, Congregate, Bitverse, anything?
The Bitverse.io. Let's get excited there. We have video. We have links to all of our socials. We update our white paper there. I mean, it's really the center of excitement for the Bitverse. Congregate.com. Tune in for later this year as something else entirely different and also exciting to very very similar level of excitement internally here and. Also with our I'm going to make you guys blush again, our wonderful partner, Immutable X.
Oh, shucks. So I've just got 3 more questions here before I pass it back over to y'all. And with that, first question is, will you bring Bitverse to the GME marketplace?
We haven't targeted any marketplaces immediately. We want the community to be able to pick where they put their assets, right? And buying directly from us through our sales that we do on the Bitverse, and then moving to the Immutable X marketplace. It's really up to the user. But we're going to see how things pan out and how all these new marketplaces go, and we'll start listing items there in the future, possibly.
Solid answer there. Next one's going to be, what's the most successful formula that convinces play-to-earn players to stay on projects instead of just cashing out their winnings?
So I think that depends a little bit on who you ask. I think for me personally, it's, if you draw, those 2 Venn diagrams, right? And in one, you had all the savvy people, crypto enthusiasts, right? And on the other one, you had people who love video games, right? And just playing games. Like they're trying to appeal to the intersection between those 2 circles, right? That's the people that we are making these for, right? And that's how we're building everything. So again, the way to make the most out of the Bitverse, right? If you decide to own an NFT, it's gonna be by playing the games. And playing them, the longer you're going to play them, the more you're going to have, more valuable things are going to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For me, that's the formula to convince this play-to-earn players to stay on the project. Give them a reason to stay, which is the games. A good time.
Nice. Do you have any thoughts on that overall, Max, as well?
No, Jorge covered just about all of anything, I would say.
Awesome. All right. So really quick before we get to this last question here. So for Immutable's giveaway, the winner was Discord user SNEPIAREN #2820. A Immutable staff member will reach out to you for your information. And with that, final question here. Gonna go broad. Gonna go a little thought heavy on this one. So how will NFT in the gaming industry have a long-term impact, and what will you do for it?
Ooh, yeah, so that's a big one.
Saved it for last.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. To me, the NFT impact on gaming will be huge. We're already seeing this in the crypto investment space, where crypto investors are jumping into games and game economies, and making long-term investments. I'd say that as we're in a bear market, but that is what it is. And what we're really focused on is ensuring player ownership and agency of all their digital assets, right? The things that always feel bad is when you're reading through terms of service and you're like, wait a minute, everything I'm buying in this game is technically a lease between me and the owner of the game until the game sunsets. Like, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel right. Knowing that it could just poof, be gone at any minute, like knowing that we're distributing assets as NFTs with asset links to your actual representation of your item, whether it's stored in IPFS or what, to me is really huge and really brings that permanence to gaming. Just like a lot of gamers collect Funko Pops and put them on a shelf. I mean, collect your in-game items and put them in your wallet. The bonus is you get to play fun games with them. And the long-term effect is that you get to keep them forever.
I agree with Max. I think there's a couple of instances that always come to mind, right? Like, one is, for example, when I'm playing a new game, right? And I have a friend who's been playing that game for a while, and I'm joining that game because it has been recommended to me. And there's so much distance between us, and I have have to play for 6 months to catch up with that guy. With digital ownership, digital asset ownership, like I can basically buy my way into that and just have a good time with my friend immediately, right? At the same level. That's one. Applies a little bit also to chain, right? It's in card games. I can go buy a deck and be competitive tomorrow. I don't have to buy 1,000 card packs in Hearthstone, right, to get all the cards that I need. And I'll be able to be competitive. Like I can just jump into it and all this. And obviously, I'm buying these from someone else, right? And that person is getting something for their time investment. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like when people ask me, why do you think NFT games are gonna be successful? I always answer the same thing. It's like, okay, I could put my time into a free to play or a premium title, right? Basically, spend the time. Literally, is I'm spending the time. Or I could put it into an NFT game, own some shit, right? And sorry for the word, but I'll own this thing, it'll be mine, and I can do with it whatever I want. I can give it to my friend. I can just sell it and recover some of the money, right? And that's what at the time, which is what Max was talking about, right? And go somewhere else. That's going to be a huge thing. Obviously, everybody talks about interoperability and how cool that it's going to be, and we want to be part of that too. But that one has a lot more questions around how to make it actually work, right? Between titles, as I said, today it's more of a kind of goes on a case by case basis, right? Like you have to reach the other project, figure out how you're going to build out the tech, you integrate both things. But definitely in terms of asset ownership, I think we just have the lead here, and we're gonna. This is the future.
Nice. Well, with those two very well said thoughts, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to you two. Is there anything you'd like to share with the community while I've got you here?
In the Bitverse, you're gonna love it. No, seriously. Fun fact: we asked new employees in the Bitverse to play the game until they're level 50 or 100, the original Bit Heroes Quest. most of them start by, it's okay, having a good time. But, everyone who kind of reaches those levels gets hooked and loves the game, right? Which I think talks a lot about how these games grow on people. And I encourage everyone to go download it today, play it, even if it's a non-blockchain version, right? And have a good time with it. I think that's what I would tell the community. Yeah, thank you for your time and for listening to us today.
I think I've let slip a few things, so I'm not going to add anything else. But thank you everyone for listening. As Jorge said, Bitverse, it's for everyone. And my outgoing statement is, at Congregate, we're here to have fun together.
All right. And lastly, before I let you two go, explicitly, where can they find you? Anywhere on Twitter? Anywhere on Discord?
Yeah, I'm out there. You can find me on Discord, the same username I'm using here on stage, Max Murphy, #1363. Or, you can find me on Twitter at Max Murphy. Been there for a while. So don't talk much about this, but end up on spaces quite often.
A kind of similar thing, you can add me, I'm using this Discord. It's JorgeKong #194. I am on Twitter as well, although I'm a little bit less active, and LinkedIn under the name of Jorge Ezquerra. Oh, actually, Jorge G. Ezquerra. And I know it's a Spanish name, it's a little bit more difficult, but if you have questions in the white paper, in the team section, find me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for making the time, and thanks everyone for coming in to listen. Just go ahead and keep an eye out in the events channel in the Immutable X Discord. But thanks again for coming, everyone.